A Christmas Carol, the timeless tale of Ebenezer Scrooge, a shrewd moneylender who on Christmas Eve confronts the spirits of the past, present, and future in order to save his mortal soul from eternal damnation. By reflecting on his past mistakes, Scrooge changes for the better by honoring the spirit of Christmas and not shutting out the lessons he's learned. And through this affirmation, Scrooge becomes a better person and helps to improve the living conditions of his community. Ebenezer Scrooge is the quintessential anti-hero archetype. As the story progresses, we start to empathize more with him and root for him to change for the better. The story has been adapted into more films than any other novel and has stood the test of time. Its message and themes are as relevant today as they were when it first was published, and many great actors have portrayed Scrooge. Reginald Owen, George C. Scott, Rowan Atkinson, Patrick Stewart, Kelsey Grammer, Jim Carrey, Tim Curry, Alan Young, and Bill Murray. Well, sort of. With all these retellings of Dickens' novel, it's no surprise that the Muppets also did a version of it. And I say this without hyperbole, irony, or hesitation, that this is my absolute favorite film adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Starring Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge, Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit, Miss Piggy as Miss Cratchit, Robin the Frog as Tiny Tim, Statler and Waldorf as Jacob and Robert Marley, Gonzo the Great as Charles Dickens, and Rizzo the Rat as Charles Dickens' rat friend. We also get original songs written by longtime Muppet collaborator Paul Williams, who is responsible for writing the iconic Rainbow Connection from the first film, and is no stranger to Christmas-themed Muppet projects, having written songs for Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. How have I not done a review on that yet? This film is the directorial debut of Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson, and despite this being his first film, he kills it, with creative use of miniatures, puppetry, effects, match cuts, and grounds the Muppets in a gritty but occasionally zany world full of fun, color, and wonders. It's amazing that this was his first film. In the opening shot, we see a beautiful view of Dickensian London to establish this grounded world that is much different than anything we've seen from a Muppet project thus far. The credits list the Muppets by their name rather than their performers, a nice decision by the filmmakers to maintain the illusion as though the Muppets are living, breathing actors, rather than just puppets. The movie itself establishes a world where humans and Muppets live harmoniously side by side. There's never any attention drawn to it, which works well to reinforce the idea that the Muppets are just people too. We are then introduced to Gonzo as Charles Dickens and Rizzo the Rat as himself. They serve as the narrators of the story. Well, at least Gonzo is, and Rizzo's just kind of along for the ride. These two fourth wall breaking, joke spewing chuckleheads add levity to balance out some of the film's darker tones.
Whoa, that's scary stuff. Hey, should we be worried about the kids in the audience?
No, it's all right. This is culture.
As Gonzo Dickens introduces Ebenezer Scrooge, the sky goes gray and we're treated to the first musical number of the film, Scrooge. Sung from the perspective of the townsfolk, we see their disdain for Ebenezer Scrooge. Everyone from the mice to the vegetables have a grievance with him. As to be expected with any Paul Williams song, Scrooge's lyrics hit hard.
When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone.
But there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone.
That opening line, when a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone, but there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone, sets the mood, and it establishes perfectly how Scrooge is viewed by his community. Through his song lyrics, Williams is so good at capturing the serious tones of the story, but also has fun with the lyrics by including lines like, if they gave a prize for being mean, the winner would be him. To ring into the comedy, because after all, it is a Muppets movie. This spooky melody is used throughout Miles Goodman's score and serves as the leitmotif for Scrooge. To an extent, I can't help but feel bad for Scrooge here. From the audience's perspective, he hasn't done anything yet, but the whole town is just roasting him with a song of how much they hate his guts. And did they sing this song every day? I mean, I'd be pretty grumpy too if every time I walked out of the house, the neighbors sang a song about how much they hate me. And what about the end when Scrooge has a change of heart? Did any of them feel bad for singing this song? After only seeing glimpses of Scrooge throughout the number, at the very end we finally see his face. Scrooge is portrayed by Michael Caine, who gives one of the most well-rounded portrayals of the character of all time. You can see the sadness that he masks with anger. He's not as vicious or cruel as some portrayals, but he still has his outbursts which lead to really funny comedic moments. Michael Caine's performance is one of the film's greatest strengths. He doesn't give the audience a wink and a nudge when he's acting opposite of Kermit the Frog or Bean Bunny. He treats them as though they're living, breathing thespians. and this acting choice gives the film a much appreciated level of sincerity. This also adds a wonderful and subtle comedic layer to the film. Scrooge is surrounded by Muppets and never once mentions it. It's just a normal day for him. And this movie is so much funnier when you look at it from that perspective. It also serves to better the story. Scrooge towers over all these Muppets, which visually depicts his superiority, as he literally looks down upon them when he speaks to them. He's often filmed from lower angles, giving him the illusion of increased size, where the Muppets are the opposite, being filmed from higher angles to emphasize their smaller size. Kane's the film's comedic straight man and doesn't wisecrack or try to upstage the Muppets, and they don't upstage him. It's just a perfect balance between Muppets and humans. Kane is also the first non-Muppet to star in the lead role of a Muppet movie. They could have easily casted one of the Muppets to play as Scrooge, like Stotler or Waldorf, but in all honesty, I think the movie would have been worse off, and probably would have come across more like a parody rather than a reimagining.
Bob Cratchit?
Yes, Mr. Scrooge?
Who is this?
It's Mr. Applegate, sir.
At the Lending Firm, we're introduced to Bob Cratchit, played by Kermit the Frog. He's very subtly introduced, a deliberate decision by the director to make his appearance in the story feel as organic as possible, which lends further believability to the world. Giving him an over-the-top introduction wouldn't have matched well with Bob Cratchit's humble demeanor anyway. In fact, most Muppet characters throughout the story just pop up without any fanfare. Fred, Scrooge's nephew and his only living relative, invites him to spend Christmas Day at his home, but Scrooge refuses. Beaker and Bunsen Honeydew play the kind-hearted donation collectors, and God rest his little soul, Bean Bunny plays the sweet little caroler that fills the wrath, or I guess in this case, the wreath of Scrooge. This was the first film Kermit appears in where he wasn't played by Jim Henson. Jim Henson passed away in 1990, and Steve Whitmire was selected by son Brian Henson and wife Jane Henson to carry on his legacy. Whitmire's portrayal is a little higher and less nasally than Henson's, but still hits those emotional beats and captures the spirit of the character so well. As demonstrated in the next song, One More Sleep Till Christmas.
There's magic in the air this evening, magic in the air. The world is at her best, you know, when people love and care.
It's just so warm and jovial, and the song reminds us of why Kermit is such a lovable and optimistic character. The shot of Kermit standing in front of the full moon as the shooting star whizzes by is such a cinematic and beautiful shot. It's so freaking heartbreaking. He's just so cold in the trash can. Scrooge returns to his icy cold home, and we are introduced to the Marley brothers, played by Stotler and Waldorf. Jacob Marley was from the original story, but Stotler and Waldorf are a pair, so they needed to create a new character so they could use both in the ghostly role, so they came up with Robert Marley. I'm assuming they chose the name Robert Marley to pay homage to Bob Marley, which I absolutely love. That feels like a very Muppet-esque joke. The two go on to ridicule Scrooge and Dickens to an extent by poking fun at the "there's more a gravy than a grave" line, and respond by saying "leave comedy to the bears," a clever reference to the Muppet Show and their relationship with Fozzie Bear, who they're always heckling. And the two begin to sing a foreboding song, Marley and Marley.
We're Marley and Marley, avarice and greed. We took advantage of the poor, just ignored the needy.
This is my absolute favorite number from the entire film. I remember watching it as a kid and being scared to death by the haunting images, the rattling chains, and the singing lockboxes. It's just a really catchy yet chilling number. One line I always love that is just so creepy is, "Have your fun when life is done, a nightmare waits for you." There was also a cut line that can still be heard on the soundtrack. "The news we shared has got you scared. I'm glad that we got through. So make amends and make some friends. The future's up to you." It's a really beautiful line, and even though Stotler and Waldorf are portraying characters, it's nice hearing them say something really kind and optimistic for a change. They warn Scrooge about the ghost he's about to encounter, and then are dragged down by the chains they forged in life. It's a great visual, but also very unfortunate for them. Scrooge is visited by the first ghost and is shown visions of his past, where we see Sam Eagle, Fozzie Bear, Fozzie's mom, Ma Bear from the Muppet Family Christmas Special, portraying people he once knew. Fozzie Bear plays Mr. Fezziwig, or as he's renamed to in this film, Fozziewig. And instead of a warehouse company, it's a rubber chicken factory. Perfect for Fozzie. But Are you telling me that this guy got his start at a rubber chicken factory? We even see a young version of the Marley brothers, which is always nice in Christmas carols when they show a younger version of Marley in the past. Wait, so Fozziwig is the Marley Bros' boss, but they still insult him to his face anyways? Damn, that's hardcore. He's the head of a company and he still can't get respect. Poor Fozzie. As he sees the wasted years of his youth, Scrooge slowly realizes the errors of his lifestyle. At the Christmas party, he sees his younger self meet the love of his life, Belle. After the introduction, the spirit takes him to the Christmas where they separate. Belle doesn't love Scrooge anymore and sings the song When Love Is Gone. It's a tear-jerking song, and it's made sadder when old Scrooge is singing along with her.
It was almost love. It was almost always.
But he's unable to sing it without his voice cracking and breaks down crying. This song is so important, it's the emotional fulcrum of the entire film. Scrooge fully understands the error of what he's done, and he is one step closer to his redemption. The song was unfortunately cut from the theatrical film, but was available on the VHS and DVD release. Recently it's been added back to the Disney Plus version, because the original negative of the film had been found, so we got the high quality version of this song for the first time, and you can watch it right now if you have Disney Plus, so that's pretty cool. And I highly recommend watching this version of the film. The movie feels incomplete without it. I understand why they might want to cut it because it's the only song in the movie that doesn't feature Muppets, but I still think that, without it, the film isn't as good. Scrooge in frustration asks the ghost of Christmas Past to leave, and is returned to his bedchambers. The second bell tolls and the ghost of Christmas Present appears. He's a larger-than-life, lovable figure, and out of all three ghosts, he's my absolute favorite. He's just so jolly and kind-hearted. His infectious personality even gets Scrooge to crack a joke. The ghost of Christmas Present is sometimes portrayed as very harsh and rude to Scrooge in some of the film adaptations, occasionally coming off like a scared straight inmate. But this one is very understanding and determined to help Scrooge and show him the joy around him. And a nice little friendship emerges as Scrooge sees the value and joy of Christmas. And through the song, It Feels Like Christmas, we see that metamorphosis occur. Filled with happiness, Scrooge asks the ghost to show him friends and family to see how they celebrate their holiday, only to find that family and friends just ridicule him behind his back.
An unwanted creature, but not a rat-a-leech or a cockroach.
Then what?
Then what? What?
It's Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yes!
At the Cratchit house, we see that Kermit and Piggy have 4 children, and instead of having pig, frog, mutant babies, the filmmakers decided it'd be better to have the boys be frogs and the girls be pigs. Robin the Frog, Kermit's nephew from the Muppet Show, plays his son Tiny Tim here.
Oh, Peter, the Christmas dinner. The goose. The goose.
He's such a happy little frog, full of life and optimism. So much so that Scrooge even looks on him with admiration. Bob makes a toast to Scrooge, with his wife and daughters reluctantly joining, but Tiny Tim wholeheartedly raises his glass for Scrooge and sings, "Bless us all."
I look into the eyes of love and know that I belong. Bless us all.
It's another warm-hearted, feel-good song, and I always love when Robin the Frog gets the spotlight. Scrooge asks the ghost of Christmas Present if Tiny Tim will live. The ghost, who is aging with the passing day, says it's beyond his knowledge, but predicts that if things go unchanged, by the next Christmas, Tim will die. But if he's to die, he better do it and decrease the surplus population, throwing Scrooge's words back at him. This is another really good emotional scene of why I love this movie so much. The ghost begins to fade, and Scrooge tells him how much he learned from him. The ghost tells Scrooge his journey's not over yet. There's one final spirit that he must face in order to change his fate. The ghost of Christmas Present fades into the lights, and he chuckles one last time. The friendship that forms between the ghost of Christmas Present and Scrooge is so sincere. We see the positive effect that he had on Scrooge, and this gets him one step closer to that salvation he seeks. I also like that they chose to have him go out on his own terms. Chuckling and laughing, Scrooge confronts the final ghost, and this Grim Reaper shows him a grim future. There are no songs or dance numbers here. This is a future without joy or laughter. Even Gonzo and Rizzo dip out at this part. This is as good a time as any to talk about Miles Goodman's score. This is the part of the film where he really shines. You hear the reprise of Scrooge as well as a sad version of Bless Us All. The spirit takes Scrooge to Bob Cratchit's house, a place of love and warmth. But unfortunately not today, because they're mourning the loss of their son Tiny Tim. After seeing his tombstone, Scrooge begs the ghost of Christmas future and swears that he's not the person he once was and that he'll honor Christmas in the past, present, and future. He grabs the ghost's robes, and there's a nice match cut to him in his bed during Christmas morning. Now having a chance to redeem himself and make amends for all the terrible things he's done, appropriately enough, Bean Bunny, the one he was probably cruelest to so far, happens to be right outside his window. Scrooge offers him some money to pick up a turkey for the Cratchit family. He even acknowledges the narrator Gonzo and Rizzo. Then he donates a large amount of money to Beaker and Bunsen, including several back payments, and also shares a really sweet moment with Beaker, who gives Scrooge his scarf, which Scrooge is so grateful to receive.
Thank you. Thank you. 50 times. And a Merry Christmas.
Scrooge, so full of life, lets out a song, Thankful Heart. It's another one of those classic Paul Williams tunes.
With a thankful heart, with an endless joy, with a growing family, every girl and boy will be nephew and niece to me.
That will put you in a great mood, and it feels so earned because we've seen Scrooge's entire journey, so him being able to finally embrace Christmas and sing a song is just so warm. And if you ever want to hear Michael Caine sing, look no further than this song. The song's strength comes from Caine's sincerity, and he's so far from that cold-hearted person he was before. With its sweet and poetic lyrics, how could you not smile when you hear him sing?
With an open smile and with open doors, I will bid you welcome. What is mine is yours, with a glass raised to toast your health.
As he sings, Scrooge goes full Santa and delivers gifts to all the people in town, including the Mouse family from the beginning song. That's pretty good, dude. You gotta have a tiny little mice present. That's so adorable. Scrooge brings the mob of friendly faces to the Cratchit abode and offers to double Bob's salary and pay his entire mortgage. He then asks Bob if he can share Christmas with him, and Bob agrees, and they all spend Christmas with each other. I like how even Fred is at the Cratchit household too, something that I don't recall seeing in any other film adaptation. Fred's wife, however, wasn't there because the actress was unavailable that day of shooting. My inward headcanon is that she's there, she's just using the bathroom, and that's why we don't see her. The final song they sing, The Love We Found, is a reprisal of The Love Is Gone. One more reason to watch the version where the song is in there, because it makes more sense and works better this way. It's a perfect bookend to Scrooge's journey, and we even see the same shot from the opening, with Gonzo's final narration encouraging viewers to read the book. This is a movie I've loved and have been wanting to make a video about for the longest time. Not only is it one of my favorite Christmas carols, it's probably one of my favorite Muppet films. It stays faithful to the novel, but also has several original moments to make it stand out among the rest. All that along with the catchy songs, humor, and portrayal of Scrooge, you got yourself the making of a timeless classic. If you haven't seen it before, check it out. It's on Disney+, and just be sure to watch the full version that's in the extra section. I mean, they found that lost negative, so we might as well use it, you know. Thanks everyone for watching. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I hope you have a wonderful time with your families, and while you're at it, have a wonderful new year. And in the words of Tiny Tim, God bless us, everyone.